Have you ever sat down to enjoy something as simple, as creamy, and as wholesome as an avocado, only to feel sick afterward? Maybe it was just a little stomach upset. Maybe it was dizziness that came out of nowhere. Or maybe, you brushed it off and said, "It's probably nothing." But here's the thing, what if it wasn't nothing? What if that healthy avocado was actually doing more harm than good? Now I know, avocados have been praised up and down. Heart healthy, they say. Good for your joints, good for your skin, packed with nutrients. And that's all true, if you're eating it the right way. But that's the catch, isn't it? Because for seniors, even the most nutritious food can become dangerous if it's not handled carefully. Your body isn't processing things the same way it did at 30 or even 50. And something as small as how ripe the avocado is, or what medications you're on, could quietly put your health at risk. And no one's talking about this. No one's warning you that this little green fruit, yes, fruit, can become a silent threat in your kitchen. A trigger for bloating, blood-thinning problems, even toxic overload in your system, all from simple mistakes that most folks make every day without realizing it. And that's why you need to hear this today. Because in this video, I'm going to walk you through 6 avocado mistakes that seniors make all the time. Some are harmless at first glance, but others, well, they could be serious. Even fatal. You'll learn how to avoid them, how to spot the signs early, and how to still enjoy avocado safely, because you can, with the right knowledge. So, if you or someone you love eats avocados even once a week, you need to stick around for this. By the end, you'll not only feel more confident about what's on your plate, you might actually avoid a health scare waiting to happen. And before we dive in, let me ask you something personal. Have you ever felt off, just not quite right? After eating an avocado? Maybe it was nausea, dizziness, or just something you couldn't explain. If so, drop a comment below. Type "Yes, I have," or even just, "Tell me more," because trust me, you're not alone. And someone else reading your story might realize they're not alone either. And while you're here, go ahead and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide, because every day, we share the kind of health insights that can truly protect you and help you live longer, stronger, and more confidently in your golden years. Now, let's talk about the very first mistake, and it starts before you even take a bite. Mistake number 1, eating overripe or oxidized avocados. Now, I want you to picture this. Mary, she's 78, retired, living in a quiet little town in Ohio. Sweet woman. Every morning, like clockwork, she makes her favorite breakfast, 2 slices of whole grain toast, topped with avocado, a pinch of salt, and a drizzle of olive oil. It's her comfort. Her routine. Something that makes her feel good, healthy, and in control. But one morning, the avocado she had sitting on the counter looked a little darker than usual. The skin was soft, the inside had brown spots, but it didn't smell too bad. So, she figured, why waste it? It's probably still fine. By noon, she felt off. Cramping in her stomach. Sweating. Diarrhea that just wouldn't stop. And at her age, even one bout of that can lead to dehydration, weakness, and in some cases, hospitalization. You see, here's what Mary, and many others, don't realize. As avocados ripen, the healthy fats inside them start to break down. And once they go past their peak, those fats begin to oxidize. That oxidation not only affects the taste, it actually creates harmful compounds that can irritate the gut, especially for older adults with more delicate digestive systems. On top of that, soft, browning avocados are a breeding ground for mold and bacteria. You might not see it. You might not even smell it. But it's there, hidden in the flesh, waiting for a warm body to react with. And let me tell you something about aging. When your immune system isn't as strong as it used to be, even minor food poisoning can spiral into something dangerous. It can mean lost appetite for days, fatigue, electrolyte imbalance, and in some cases, a trip to the ER that could have been completely avoided. But here's the tricky part: we've been taught not to waste food. To just cut around the brown parts, or eat it fast before it goes bad. And that mindset, while well-meaning, can be risky, especially in older years. So let me make this really clear for you: if you cut into an avocado and it's dark brown, mushy, stringy, or smells the least bit sour, don't eat it. I know it feels wasteful. I know it seems harmless. But your health is worth more than a couple dollars and a piece of fruit. And a little side note: oxidation can start within minutes of cutting it open. So once you slice it, cover it tight and refrigerate it right away. If it's been sitting out on the counter for hours, toss it. Don't gamble with it. Because your body, your health, your energy, they're far too precious to risk on something that's past its prime. And here's the thing: even if the avocado looks fresh, it still might not be safe. Especially if you're taking certain medications. Let's talk about mistake number 2, a danger that doesn't come from the fruit itself, but from how it interacts inside your body. Mistake number 2, ignoring how avocados interact with your medications, especially blood thinners. Let me tell you about James. James is 74, living in Florida, and had a mild heart attack a couple of years ago. He's doing well now, on medication, eating better, walking every morning with his neighbor Bill. Really turning his health around. Now James heard that avocados were great for the heart, rich in potassium, healthy fats, zero cholesterol. So he started adding them into his diet. Every morning, he'd blend half an avocado into a smoothie with bananas and Greek yogurt. He felt proud. Like he was doing something good for himself. But after a few weeks, his doctor noticed something strange. His INR levels, the numbers that show how thin or thick your blood is, were off. Too low. That means his blood wasn't thinning properly, even though he was taking his warfarin every day. The culprit? That innocent-looking avocado. See, here's what most people don't know: avocados contain vitamin K. And vitamin K is one of those nutrients that directly affects how blood thinners work. It's the exact thing medications like warfarin and Coumadin are trying to balance. When you eat more vitamin K than your body is used to, it can reduce the effectiveness of those drugs. Meaning your blood can clot more easily than it should. And for someone like James, that could have meant a stroke waiting to happen. Now here's the kicker: most people think vitamin K only comes from leafy greens like spinach or kale. And yes, those are the biggest sources. But avocado? It has a moderate amount, just enough to tip the scale if you're eating it daily or in larger portions. And it's not about avoiding avocado altogether. No, not at all. The key here is consistency. If you're on blood thinners, your doctor likely wants your vitamin K intake to stay stable. Sudden changes, like going from no avocado to eating it every morning, can throw off your balance without warning. So, what do? You don't panic. You don't cut it out entirely. You talk to your doctor or your dietitian. Let them know what you're eating, how often, and they can help you adjust things safely. Because yes, avocados can be part of a heart-healthy diet, even on blood thinners. But only with the right guidance. And for the caregivers watching, please, take this seriously. If your parent or spouse is on medication, and you're adding avocado to meals or smoothies, don't assume it's harmless. Even healthy choices need context. Now, medication conflict is a big issue. But sometimes, even if the food is fresh, and you're not on any medication, too much of it can still create problems, especially for seniors whose bodies don't burn calories the way they used to. So, let's move into mistake number 3, one I see more often than you might think. Eating too much avocado every day. Let me introduce you to Doris. She's 72, lives just outside of St. Louis. Active, sharp-minded, and always reading health articles on her tablet. One day, she reads that avocados are good for cholesterol, good for blood pressure, and great for the brain. So, what does she do? She starts adding a full avocado to every meal. Breakfast, avocado toast. Lunch, half an avocado in her salad. Dinner, guacamole with crackers. Day after day, week after week. At first, she feels great, until things start to change. She begins noticing her clothes fitting tighter. She feels sluggish after meals. She has trouble with bloating and digestion. Then at her next doctor's visit, the scale shows she's gained 12 pounds over a few months. Her cholesterol, which had been stable, starts creeping up. Now Doris is confused. She was doing what she thought was right. She wasn't eating chips or sweets, she was eating avocados, for her heart. So, what went wrong? Well, here's the truth. Avocados are packed with nutrients, yes. But they're also extremely calorie-dense. One medium avocado has around 250 to 300 calories, and most of that comes from fat. Now, it's the good kind of fat, monounsaturated fats that are beneficial for heart health, but fat is still fat. And too much of it adds up fast, especially for older adults with slower metabolisms. See, as we age, the body naturally burns fewer calories. You might be eating the same as you did 10 years ago, but your body isn't processing it the same way anymore. It's storing more. It's digesting slower. And it's more sensitive to volume and fat content, even when that fat is technically healthy. And here's the misconception I hear all the time: it's good fat, so I can eat as much as I want. That's where we go wrong. Because healthy fat is still high in calories, and when it piles up, it can lead to weight gain, stomach discomfort, sluggish digestion, and yes, even rising cholesterol levels in some individuals. So how much is enough? For the average older adult, a quarter to a half of an avocado per day is plenty. That's enough to get the benefits, without tipping the scale or burdening your gut. It's about balance. Not restriction, just wisdom. And remember, those calories aren't just sneaking in through slices of avocado. If you're eating avocado toast, guacamole, avocado oil, and salad dressings with avocado, it adds up more than you think. Now, we've talked about freshness, we've talked about medication, and we've talked about how much to eat. But next, we're diving into something a little more unexpected, something that starts before you even take your first bite. Let's move into mistake number 4. And this one matters especially for those of you with sensitive stomachs or weakened immune systems. Not peeling avocados properly. Now I want to tell you about Ron. He's 80, lives with his daughter and grandkids in Arizona. A retired army mechanic, sharp as a tack, still keeps his yard trimmed better than most 40-year-olds. Ron loves avocados. In fact, he eats them every week. But here's what he didn't know: he used to scrape every last bit of avocado from the skin, right up to the very edge. No waste, he'd say proudly, I paid for the whole thing. Sometimes, he'd even leave little strips of the dark skin in his guacamole, thinking it was part of the roughage. What he didn't realize: that very part, right near the skin, is where most of the pesticide residue hides. And for seniors, especially those with weakened digestion or compromised immunity, even small amounts of chemical residue can become an issue over time. Now let's dig into the science for a second. Because this is important. Avocados have thick skins, yes. But the dark green layer directly beneath the skin, the one most people scrape out to get their money's worth, can hold trace toxins from pesticides and fungicides used during growing and shipping. Even when you wash the outside, it doesn't clean what's already soaked into that outer flesh. And that layer? It's not just more likely to contain residue, it's also tougher to digest. Especially for aging stomachs that don't produce as much stomach acid or enzymes anymore. What might cause mild bloating in a younger person can lead to cramping, gas, or even days of digestive upset in someone over 65. But here's the kicker. There's a trend online, wellness blogs, raw food influencers, saying, eat the whole avocado. Even the skin has nutrients. And while that might sound noble in theory, it's not designed with the older digestive system in mind. What's extra fiber for a 25-year-old could be a stomachache waiting to happen for someone in their 70 or 80. And again, this isn't about fear, it's about smart preparation. So, here's a simple fix: peel your avocado like a banana. That's right, slice it in half, remove the pit, then gently peel away the skin with your fingers or a spoon, leaving behind only the light green flesh. That's the part with all the healthy fats, fiber, potassium, and antioxidants. That's the part your body can use, without the added stress. And if you're someone who preps avocados for a loved one, maybe a parent, a spouse, or someone you're caring for, keep this in mind every time you serve them. What seems like a small detail can make a big difference in their comfort and health. So far, we've talked about how much you eat, what's interacting with your meds, and now how you prepare it. But now, let's talk about the setting. Because no matter how fresh or well peeled your avocado is, it won't matter if you're making this next mistake. Let's go into mistake number 5, and if you're a fan of homemade guacamole, this one's especially for you. Leaving cut avocados unrefrigerated. Let me tell you what happened to Helen. Helen is 76, lives in Georgia, and has the warmest heart you could imagine. She loves hosting her grandkids, especially on weekends. One Saturday, she whipped up a big bowl of homemade guacamole. Ripe avocados, diced tomatoes, red onion, a little garlic, squeeze of lime, it was perfect. She left the bowl out on the kitchen counter while everyone played board games, watched TV, and chatted for hours. By that evening, Helen wasn't feeling so good. She thought maybe it was just fatigue. But then came the nausea, the chills, and the sudden, relentless vomiting. By 10 p.m., she was in the emergency room with what turned out to be a severe case of food poisoning. And the likely culprit? That bowl of guacamole left sitting out in the warmth. Now here's the thing most people don't know: avocados, once cut, lose their natural protection. That thick skin? It's like armor. But once it's removed, the fruit inside becomes highly vulnerable to bacterial growth, especially when exposed to room temperature for long stretches. And we're not talking about harmless germs here. We're talking about dangerous pathogens like Listeria and Salmonella. These bacteria can develop quickly in soft, moist foods like guacamole, especially when the temperature in the room is over 70 degrees. And seniors? Seniors are more vulnerable to these infections than younger adults. The immune system slows with age, and the body has a harder time fighting off bacteria once it enters. And I know what you might be thinking, but it's just avocado, it's a fruit. Yes, but once you cut it, it's no longer shelf-stable. The oils begin to break down. The surface starts to oxidize. And if it's mixed with other ingredients, like in guacamole, the moisture creates a perfect breeding ground for bacteria. So, here's your safe rule of thumb: if you slice an avocado, or make anything with it, cover it and refrigerate it within 1 hour. That's it. Don't wait. Don't assume it'll be fine for a bit. If you're not serving it immediately, store it in an airtight container, and press some plastic wrap right against the surface to limit exposure to air. And if it's already turned dark brown or has been sitting out for more than 2 hours? Be safe. Toss it. I know it's frustrating to waste food, but the risk to your health just isn't worth it. Because let's face it, food should nourish you, not send you to the hospital. Now, we've covered 5 big mistakes already, each with its own hidden dangers. But this last one? It's one of the most surprising of them all. Because it doesn't happen at the table, or in the fridge, but in your kitchen cabinet, disguised as a health trend. Let's talk about mistake number 6, and yes, we're talking about the avocado seed. Mistake number 6, trying avocado seed remedies without medical advice. Let's talk about Paul. Paul is 81, lives in Michigan, and still mows his lawn every Saturday like clockwork. He's sharp, curious, and always reading up on natural health tips. One day, he stumbles on an article titled, "Why You Should Never Throw Away Your Avocado Seed." It claimed the seed had antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, and that grinding it into a powder could boost immunity and cleanse the blood. So Paul, being the health-conscious man he is, dries the pit, grinds it down, and starts adding it to his morning oatmeal. Just a teaspoon at first. Then a little more each day. A few weeks later, Paul gets a call from his doctor. His blood work is off. Liver enzymes are elevated. There's something his body is struggling to process. And after ruling out meds and infections, they trace it back to the seed powder. You see, what Paul didn't know is that avocado seeds contain a natural chemical compound called persin. Persin is a fungicidal toxin. It's nature's way of protecting the seed from mold and pests. In very small amounts, some people may tolerate it without issue. But in concentrated form, especially over time, it can build up and become toxic to the liver, kidneys, and even heart tissue. Particularly in older adults with already stressed or aging organs. And the problem is this: we assume that natural means safe. But not everything nature gives us is meant for daily consumption. The avocado seed wasn't designed to be eaten. It's tough, bitter, and biologically structured to protect, not to nourish. And turning it into a fine powder doesn't magically remove its risks, it just makes it easier to consume too much. So, here's the bottom line: don't experiment with the seed. Don't grind it, don't bake with it, don't add it to smoothies, unless a qualified medical professional or nutritionist has specifically told you to. There are plenty of safe ways to strengthen your immunity and lower inflammation that don't involve turning to toxic seeds. Instead, stick to the creamy, light green flesh. That's where the real benefits live. That's where your heart, your brain, and your digestion get the support they need. Because at the end of the day, you're not just eating for the moment. You're eating for strength. For clarity. For independence. And now that you've heard all 6 of these hidden mistakes, it's time we take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Let's talk about what this all really means, for your health, your safety, and your peace of mind. It's unsettling, isn't it? To think that something as simple, as natural, as healthy as an avocado could quietly harm you, or someone you love. We're told to eat better, to choose whole foods, to go for the heart-healthy options. But nobody really talks about the fine print. The quiet risks. The small details that make a world of difference when you're older. And that's where the fear creeps in. Because when the foods we trust, the ones we think are good for us, turn around and cause pain, confusion, or illness, it shakes us. It makes us second-guess our instincts. And when you're caring for someone, a spouse, a parent, maybe even yourself, it's hard not to feel overwhelmed by the weight of every decision. But here's what I want you to remember. You're not living in fear. You're living informed. And that means you're already one step ahead. You now have the knowledge that most people don't. You've peeled back the curtain. You've seen how even healthy choices have to be adjusted with age. And that doesn't make you fragile, it makes you prepared. Because caring for your health, or someone else's, doesn't mean being perfect. It just means being aware. Being thoughtful. Being attentive to the little things that, over time, make the biggest difference. So now, I want to challenge you, gently, but seriously. If you have a parent who loves avocado toast, a spouse who blends it into smoothies, A friend who believes more is always better when it comes to health foods. Take 2 minutes today to share what you've learned. Send this video. Or simply say, "Hey, did you know about this?" Because that tiny step, the one that seems so small, could actually save someone from a painful night, a hospital trip, or worse. You're not just watching a video. You're becoming an advocate. For smarter eating. For safer habits. For better aging. And here's the best part. Avocados are still a gift to the aging body. They're full of fiber, which supports digestion. Potassium, which supports heart and muscle function. Healthy fats that nourish the brain and joints. When used wisely, they can still be a powerful part of a senior's diet. So don't fear them. Respect them. Understand them. And use them with care. Because when you combine good food with good knowledge, that's when health becomes freedom. Now, before you go, let's take a moment to recap everything you've just learned, because each piece matters. Here are the 6 avocado mistakes we covered today. 1. Eating overripe or oxidized avocados, which can lead to stomach upset and foodborne illness. 2. Mixing avocados with blood thinners, a silent interaction that can reduce the medication's effectiveness. 3. Overeating avocados, because even healthy fats in large amounts can burden the aging body. 4. Not peeling avocados properly. Scraping too close to the skin can introduce tough fibers and chemical residue. 5. Leaving cut avocados unrefrigerated, allowing bacteria like Listeria and Salmonella to grow. 6. Using the seed without medical advice, risking toxin exposure from persin in seed powders. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these surprised you the most? Was there a mistake you didn't even know was a risk? Or maybe something you've seen someone do, again and again, without realizing it could be harmful? Go ahead. Drop a comment below. Whether it's, "I didn't know about the vitamin K," or, "My mom always eats the brown ones," your story could be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. And if you found this video eye-opening, if it helped you understand your health just a little more, don't keep it to yourself. Go ahead and subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. This channel is here to support you, your family, and every older adult who wants to live fully, freely, and with fewer health surprises. We're building a community here, one where your voice matters. One where every tip, every truth, every story helps someone else stay just a little safer, and a lot more empowered. So, thank you, truly, for watching. You deserve to enjoy every stage of life with confidence, clarity, and care. And that starts with staying informed, staying curious, and above all, staying connected. Until next time, stay wise, stay well, and stay close. I'll see you in the next video.